friends, it's nice to have you here. We are going to be testing out a travel brush set. I've got some cheer travels in my near future, and I thought, let's see if a travel brush set can really get the whole job done. Can it do my everyday full face of makeup? This one's from Morphe. It's $30, and I have high hopes. Anytime I try like some little brush set, I'm always hoping that it can be the one that really pulls it off. And 9 times out of 10, my complaint about a brush set, like a condensed travel brush set, is that they never include a flat brush. But guess what? In this one, they've got my everyday use flat brush Morphe M303, but it's called the M303.5 because it's squatty, it's little. But that's making me think maybe the whole thing's gonna work. Plus it's in this cute little baggie here. I love how no matter what travel bag I'm using for my makeup, even if it doesn't have some great brush storage, my brushes are still kind of nicely protected in here, and I could even fit in a few other little tools, you know? So let's talk about what's in here and unwrap these babies. First off, we've got M104.5. I feel like I'm a radio DJ on 104.5. Emily FM. This is a foundation brush. We got a 204.5. That doesn't quite have the same radio ring to it, but this is going to be your blush brush. Okay. 164.5. It looks like a tapered powder brush. It just says powder, but okay. The 303.5, it's looking like the exact same size brush head as my everyday one, and this is the difference in length. I can deal with that. A 333.5, that's gonna be your eye blender. Okay, can that get some shadow in the crease or just blend us out? We will see. And then finally, they've given us a brow brush here. It's just labeled brow. It's an angled brush with a spoolie on the other end. So those are our 6 different brushes. It does confirm here on the packaging. It says each brush in this kit is expertly developed with downsized, easy to stow handles and full-sized brush heads featuring superior grade synthetic bristles. So they are vegan, and it even has a little thing on the back. This is nice. It says scan to learn how to take care of your brushes. For starters, I'm going to use a primer today. This is my Catrice Skin Glaze. I do love this primer. Soft and pearly, thin, lightweight. If you want to add glow to your skin, but not a ton of glow and not a ton of weight, this would be the one. Look at the subtle radiance boost. Doesn't cause issues for the staying power, so love that one. I've used about half my bottle. By the way, I placed a Catrice order. I don't often pay attention to the little texts that I get from brands, you know, like you buy something from somewhere and then you get on the text list, whatever. Well, one fine day when I already had Catrice stuff in my cart because one of you all said, hey, there's new stuff on Catrice's website, add to cart, and then I'm kind of like, you know, not fully committed to what I've gotten, or, you know, in that mode where I'll think about it before I check out, like if there's anything else I want. In that meantime, I get a take 20% off text. I don't know if they knew stuff was in my cart and that would just send me over the edge, but it did. I was actually thinking that stuff might have come by today, but it hasn't. But the foundation that I'm going to use today is my Revolution Skin Silk. I do love this stuff. This wears really well on me, really thin texture, luminous serum foundation, they say, and I am in the shade F3. Give myself a full pump of this. And we'll dab this around and use that foundation brush. Guys, I've transformed the makeup room closet. I didn't even really see this project coming at the start of the week, but I was putting some stuff away in there and it was like I'd finally had it. I'd put some stuff in and I thought, I'm tired of not being able to step into this closet because there's just stuff, bags, decor, everything just kind of thrown in there. And then one thing led to another and it turned into a full-on like room makeover, major weed out. It's great in there. I'm probably gonna shoot some stuff in there. I have the pink walls still in there. Remember when this room was pink? Pepto-Bismol type of pink. 104.5, here we go. 104.5. That's the only way I can think of this brush now. Blending great. This is a great foundation brush option here. I like the size. It's a little fuller than like an e.l.f. Complexion Duo brush. Great density, not too much movement in the bristles, ultra soft. Absolutely no complaints about using that for foundation any day of the week, traveling or not. But you know what I'm not seeing in our little brush set is something specifically catering to concealer. Like our other powder steps are taking care of blush and powder, and like I may have to do some work with this brush still. For some reason, I like keeping it in the family. When I'm using a foundation and a concealer, I like to stay in the brand if I can. And this is Skin Silk from Revolution, under eye brightener and concealer. Did I tell you my shade here? F3. This is Fair Cool. Got that little cooling tip that is pleasant and all, but it doesn't hold a lot of product. Look, you're only going to be able to dab for one eye. I knew that. I was just showing you guys. And a kitty cat needs in the room. That was Rosie needing into the girls' room. She usually sleeps all night in there. Comes out when I first come upstairs. Hears me up here, scratches to get out, goes down, has some breakfast, and then scratches to get back in. I've talked about cat doors for a long time. We need them. Okay, I'm tempted to reach in for a usual brush, but I only want to stick to this set. So I'm kind of working off the edge of this brush. It's kind of like I'm skipping a step. I would normally spread out these dots with a littler concealer brush, and now I'm just going right to it. I could use my finger, which just feels crazy for some reason. I just haven't been a finger concealer blender for a long, long time, but it can be done. Took off my pretty lilac nail polish. I don't think I've ever had so many compliments on a nail polish. I used that shade because ahead of that Chicago cheer competition, like, I've kind of adopted lilac as one of our gym's colors, even though it's more so purple. I can have a little lilac bag and use that color of nail polish, and it's fun. And it's just very springy, kind of Easter egg vibes. But I think I'm going to do neon on my nails for the next competition. It's another glow tour thing. Okay, how we looking? I mean, I'm looking fully blended, I think. I'm not looking as covered as I want to look right there. And I think that's more the fault of the concealer than the blending. I knew this wasn't my fullest coverage concealer. Tapping in. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo. Okay, that's better. Now for powder, we could pull in a powder puff, or we could just use the little brush labeled powder. So we've got this little tapered brush. Reminds me a lot of a brush that I used to use all the time from e.l.f. called the small tapered brush, except this feels just a little bit longer on the bristles, but I think it's going to give a good application of powder, so let's just use it. Doesn't always have to be a puff. I haven't used Coty Airspun all week, so she's coming in. Don't drop the Coty Airspun in. Picking up a little bit. Just whatever kind of like residue was in the cap. I'm dabbing it over the under eye. I like this little brush. I like a controlled powder brush. Controlled meaning like I'm getting that powder right where I want it. It's not massive. What I want to know is what's going to happen for bronzer. What strategy am I going to take there? Like, is this going to do bronzer? Or am I going to choose an entirely different format of bronzer, like not a powder bronzer, in order to get the job done there? Okay, I've set. I don't feel nearly as set as I usually do with the powder puff. I need a little more powder. I made pigs in a blanket last night for the kids. Few things taste better than a Pillsbury crescent roll wrapped around a little smoky. It's just a third of a crescent roll wrapped around the little smoky. Okay. That's fine, I guess. It's less powder than I usually have on. Just different methods. Just thinking about what I'm going to do here for bronzer. The other face brush is this. This is what we have. Foundation, powder, and then this one labeled blush, which this one's feeling and looking a whole lot like a Sephora 56. I guess maybe cream bronzer might be the way to go. I'm using Rare Beauty today. It says Good Energy. I think that's the shade name. I used it down there a little bit. This is so easily blendable. Love how it glides on. I sometimes get messages, and I think it's simply because maybe I haven't done loads of videos where high-end or luxury makeup is in the title, but honestly, a lot of high-end makeup does get worked into random videos. And like, I don't know, really recently in the comments section, like, I wish you'd do more high-end makeup. And I had already done an Hourglass video, a luxury shop my stash. It's like, is not everybody seeing what I'm doing? M204.5. Okay, so this is the brush labeled blush. Now, what I'm immediately sensing, can you see it? Look at the movement in the bristles there. If it were a Sephora 56, see the lack of movement really? I just thought maybe it'd work, and it will work. We are making it work. But I'm just a little sad that this hasn't become like everything I need it to be yet. And when they put out a travel brush set, I think they really are thinking this is everything. Like, that's the intent with these, is that this brush set is going to contain everything someone needs for the full look. I'm kind of like pinching my bristles a little here so I can get a little more pressure. Could this have applied powder bronzer? I think it might have to, actually. I might add a little powder bronzer, just see how it does with that. But if it is a travel brush set that's primarily going to live in a little travel bag, and we're not really trying to like sit it upright in a cup, this might be a good moment for brands to take advantage of the double-ended brush concept. Morphe could do something similar to It Cosmetics and e.l.f. with the duo complexion thing, putting a concealer end on there. Like, I think travel is a great time to use those double-ended ones. Okay, so we're getting it blended out. I mean, I'm going to blend till I feel blended here. I'm going to make it work, but that wasn't ideal for the cream. I'm going to take it with a little bit of powder bronzer just to see here, and I'm going to use one deliberately that's not going to be too dark and difficult to blend. So this is Sundance from Rimmel, natural bronzer. Same brush, that blush brush. Kind of buff some of this in. I think this might have been the better choice. Size-wise, it's pretty decent for some bronzer, actually, for me. And to do a little contour, yeah, that's okay. I was just kind of seeing its shape and thinking, Sephora 56. I think I would just travel with an easy to work with powder bronzer, whatever easy means for your skin tone, and yeah, just use it for that. For blush, I'm going to use some CoverGirl Skin Enhancer. Yes, use this one called Berry Punch. Look at her. Blush brush, tapping in. I kind of wiped it off on my hand a little bit. This can be pigmented, but it's fun. Berry vibes. Look at that. Love it. This is really perfect for blush. Perfect. I felt very at home and very good about the foundation brush, blending my foundation, and I feel really good about this with blush. I just kind of didn't like needing to blend my concealer with my fingers a little bit. Not that it did anything bad for my look, especially. I just like going in with a brush for that. I like spreading it with a brush. Become very accustomed to that. It's like, if we wanted to do a highlighter, I would come back to this little powder brush and I would use right on the tip because less surface area, right? It's tapered all the way up. Just gonna pick up a little bit there. I like this one for a soft look, this soft pearl era from e.l.f. Why am I holding all my brushes? Tip only. Give us a little light glow right there. Ooh. Good. So looking back on face steps now, can we make it work with just these brushes? Yes, I believe we did. I got a good look, things look blended, things look applied well. You could toss in, you know, an e.l.f. tap and blend brush for concealer. What would it be like to put a full length brush in this bag? e.l.f. tap and blend concealer brush, she fits. That's good. So even a full-length brush could be added, but one thing I think I definitely would put in would be a little powder puff, because then I feel like my powder could get applied just in the way I'm used to, and then I would go in with the brush labeled powder and just dust away excess and do my thing. You know, I think it would be perfect for that. But I think you're going to spend a little time with this small brush if this is the only way powder's getting applied to your skin, if you're used to my kind of method that I usually do. Oh, I did want to do this. I got this setting powder from Dollar Tree. It's from the Marie Claire brand, and it's packaged up to look all like Charlotte Tilbury-ish. I don't know if Charlotte Tilbury is even doing like a white translucent setting thing, but I kind of want to see some of that, like under eye and T-zone. I got a long day to get through, friends. Tumbling, soccer, late cheer practice. There we go, that looks kind of nice. So next up we've got this brow brush. So I can brush my brows with it. And if I was using like a little, one of those beauty books, let's say you're traveling and you're taking your Laura Geller beauty book, this is where that little travel brow brush could be very handy, because you have the liner and brow colors up top. And so you kind of need that little dense brow brush. This would be perfect for that. But it could also become an eyeliner brush in with deep shadows if you wanted to, you know, concentrate some shadow at your lash line. But I am going to fill in my brows. I have this pencil from Morphe. Morphe sent a bunch of brow stuff, and this is their micro brow pencil. They sent the Nano, which I'm familiar with and I love, and I've, you know, compared that to the CoverGirl, and it's right neck and neck with CoverGirl. It's just kind of like which price is better. But they also have this micro, which is just a little thicker than the Nano, more like a Brow Wiz size. So I'm gonna use that today. Just a good standard skinny brow pencil, and my shade is Java. It's a really dark brown. For the most part though, like maybe they could have thrown in one more eye brush or something, because the brow brush, like how essential is it when so many products have a spoolie? And majority of people probably are using a pencil. You often see those brushes thrown into brush sets, and maybe it's just because they're really cheap. It's cheaper to throw in that than a regularly, you know, constructed brush with a lot of fibers. But when we're trying to make a small little minimal brush set, we're always getting a brow brush in there, it seems like. Very frequently. This lays down product with ease. Sometimes I gotta watch myself a little bit because this shade is very dark, but I do feel it's the correct shade for me. Okay, I can't take it anymore. This black headband, why do I always forget that it pinches me right back here? Moving to the clip, much better. I'm gonna use this e.l.f. brow laminating gel. I'm just kind of using it because I have it. I'm not really using it out of total love. I just gotta be careful because the gel is very white. So I put it on, and then it does come with a couple different applicators at the end to like help you brush it through, but I just feel like it's kind of fussy that way. See, you got a brush and a comb. When you run the brush through, then you're like, okay, I don't see any white goop anymore. I guess I'm good. So essentially, I guess what we're looking at now is a 2-brush eye look. We're gonna prime it first. This is my e.l.f. eye primer, which I've been really quite enjoying, mainly for that doe foot. I feel like I've gotten as good of staying power as Milani gives me, but I get a doe foot applicator. So you gotta think here. When it comes to a brush look with 2, potentially 3 eye brushes, you're not gonna pull in a full Natasha Denona or a Viseart. This is more of a let's think smaller palette. Let's think generally easy to apply palette. Okay, I'm pulling out Hard Candy, this little quad called Purr. These little quads are very good. I've got the one called Bear, I've got a warmer one, I think it's called Burn, and then this one called Purr. All right, so the 333.5, obviously, like I can tell, this is gonna be a great little blending brush, but I'm gonna need you to apply some product to the crease as well. So I'm gonna go into this mat, get some of that, and just softly get it in the crease. It almost feels light as air on my skin. It's so soft. And by the way, if you want more info on like just the full range of Morphe brushes that look like this, the white handled brushes, I do have a video that I did when I got that whole set, and I remember narrowing it down and kind of thinking about the ones that were my favorites or the ones I'd use most and pull into my daily rotation. So that video will give you a lot more info on Morphe if you're intrigued. This is just a travel set. Okay, so I'm getting like a really light crease here, but I am getting one. I'm cleaning off the brush now, and I'm just gonna blend. That's really what this brush was designed to do, is just to blend, and she'll do that, okay? Now, a lot of the responsibility is gonna fall on the shoulders of a brush that I know and love, but this is just the shorter little sister, the 303. This is 303.5 because the handle is shorter. So I'm gonna go into my darkest shade with that. And the thing I like about this brush is how it's flat, but it's got just a little fluff toward the tip. And what the fluff does, and it's doing this time too, just like its big sis, it is really making sure that shadow gets into the crease as I'm patting it on the lid. You know, I'm taking up space, and then what do you know? The shadow is reaching my crease, and then you can flip it over and you can kind of pull it up and out just a little bit, but she's applying, but making it seem almost a little blended before I've even set out to do that step. And that's what I like so much about the 303. And then I use the 302 a lot, which is just a little smaller than this, and I'll use that for inner lid stuff, but in a pinch, in a smaller brush set situation, this can do the whole lid space for sure. Just clean it off a little. Okay, so that plummy shade, I'm just gonna build it a little bit. I didn't get that much over here. But this is a pigmented little palette. Raise it up, raise it up. Then I'm going to take my blending brush. I do feel it's applying enough pressure. She's not quite my Profusion crease brush, but it's okay. Another thing this 303 could do would be down here on the lower lash line. In fact, let's just do it while we're holding it. Get a little bit of shadow on the very tip, not the side, the tip, and then use that under the eye for smudgy shadow. Using it just off the tip of the brush, that totally works. Smudge brush. Just on the tip of your brush. Granted, I usually like a long wear shadow stick in this phase of the game, so I would probably take one of those going on cheer travels, but that works still. That's another way you can use this. Now I'm really cleaning it off wholeheartedly, getting all the darkness off, because I'm going to take some of this lighter shade right here, that shimmer, and I'm going to use it with the same brush on the inner part of the lid. So Morphe really succeeded in giving us actually a flat brush and a travel brush set, because we need this type of brush in here. I just feel like I was left on the face kind of needing to strategize maybe a little bit more than I'd like, or maybe cut some corners or use a less than ideal brush in a certain situation, but it can be done. It can get the job done. So there I've got that little glow on my lid. I've got depth in the outer corner. I wasn't trying to make a complicated look. I was just trying to kind of get the look done. I'm gonna put on some mascara and we'll be right back. Alrighty guys, finished face. Here's the way I finished off the eye look. I added Essence Lash Princess Sculpting, is it sculpted? Sculpted mascara and e.l.f. lash extender on the lower lashes. As I look at the eye look and I was doing my mascara, I was just thinking, you know, it would have been nice to have the crease brush that I normally start with, because even though the eye look looks blended and completed, this Profusion crease brush just, you know, you need something a little bit more targeted than just a full-on blender brush to get stuff going in the crease. So I really would have liked to have used that, although did I get the job done? Yes. But that's kind of the situation where I feel like we could have skipped the brow brush and maybe put in a brush similar to that. But I added a little more blush to my cheeks, my CoverGirl blush, and then this is my lip combo today. I went with a stain. This is e.l.f. Plums Up in the Sheer For It Lip and Cheek Stain. So that's giving me a nice layer of overall color. I feel like it's a little more subtle on the color than the Hard Candy Pop Tint, which I showed this going on in a short video. But yes, another stain on the scene. And then I topped it with Rimmel Stay Glossy and Date Night. Date Night has just a little bit of the softest ever shimmer, but it looks just kind of mauve-y, so that's the pairing of those two. Very everyday type of lip for me. So take the hair down. All in all, the takeaway is, did it get the job done? Yes. Was it all my favorite way of doing things? No. Great foundation brush, great brush for blush. Obviously enjoyed the fact that there was a flat eyeshadow brush in there, but the ways I had to multitask to get my concealer done, to deal with bronzer, I thought was a little sketchy. Not undoable, but here's the reality. You could get something like this, and then you could say, okay, I'm adding in my Profusion crease brush. Oh, that one is just a little long for the pouch. Can you set it a diagonal? Yeah, okay. Might add in a little powder puff, a concealer brush. I mean, this can hold more than just what they're giving you. So that's just something to think about. But the other thing I'm thinking about is for $30, $30 isn't nothing. It's not the most ideal one and done little travel brush set. They tried, but there's a few little holes where you gotta multitask a little bit, okay? Let me know if you think this would have been a perfect brush set for you. Like, as you saw me go through the steps, did it feel like all the brushes you use every day? Or do you think you need to fill in the blanks with a few more? We can chat about that in the comments section, but quality-wise, I gotta say this, quality-wise, they feel wonderful on the skin, and I've felt that way about other Morphe brushes that I've used. You know, they're extremely soft. You can tell they're very well constructed. Nothing's wiggling or wobbling. The brush handle, the ferrule, the bristles themselves, we're not having shedding. They're really good quality brushes, and I like that they truly kept the full-size brush head and just shortened the handle. So that element is 2 thumbs up. So thanks again, my friends, and I will see you soon. I love you. Bye.